Well, hi YouTubers. Okay, number one of the Physics 5100 books, and Hasagawa of Japan. Now, how I got this is quite funny because I used to live in, okay, I've had this in my stack for a really, really long time. I picked it up in Winchester. I used to live in Winchester when I was at university. So this has been in my stack since a very long time. Honestly, yeah, I have bought books for years to read and never had, but over a decade, impressive. Right, now this is quite interesting because I thought this would be about the artist or like a military general, Hasegawa of Japan. It's not. This is about the Salvation Army. Yes, I know. The Salvation Army in Japan. Now, it's quite interesting because this book came out in 1975, 4 years before I was even born. And it's quite funny how the author, a Solveig Smith, talks about Japan as it doesn't even exist anymore. Let me read some out. This is really, really... This says everything. The Japanese work long hours, 45 to 55 hours a week, with only one Saturday free in a month. The attitude to work is remarkable. They relish it and find great satisfaction in trying to do it to perfection. They are fairly well paid nowadays, and do not spend a great deal on their homes apart from electrical equipment obtained quite cheaply. Money is available for travelling and new and popular luxury to present day Japan. Yeah, seriously. This describes a Japan that no longer exists anymore. It tries to kind of tap into a kind of mystical element of Japan. Now, unlike a military general or the artist, this is based on a guy called Koshi Hasagawa, who, from what is read about this, is sounds like a pretty cool guy. He was born in the turn of the century. He suffered with ill health. He found the Salvation Army. Found his wife through the Salvation Army, and how they how they met was quite interesting because they met but couldn't get married for 3 years due to various other commitments going on in their lives. And he sounds like a really, really forward-thinking father. Very modern of the times. He was hands-on with his children. He was fair. He was kind. He was patient. And as I was reading this, I felt like I'd like to know more about this guy. He's not come across as too perfect, but it's coming across as this is probably nicest guy on the go. This is a picture of him. That's Hasagawa-san. So, but it is interesting when you think about the Salvation Army in general. Now, I didn't know much about the Salvation Army. I don't know much about the Salvation Army, but obviously, okay, religion in Japan is, especially Christianity, has suffered a bit of a problematic history ever since the first Jesuit priests in the 17th century, and then obviously, well, it's pretty much explained more in the book Silence by Suzuki Endo, which I have up there, and the film. Christians were persecuted in Japan when they came over. The Mormon missionaries, not Mormon missionaries, but the Christian missionaries and that kind of thing, spreading the gospel, if you will. And it is quite poignant where during the war years, essentially the Salvation Army were not allowed to preach, and they had to put away their uniforms and wait for the day that they could basically reclaim their religion post-war. It does also mention the post-war period of Japan, how the Japanese dealt with defeat. They resigned themselves to it, accepted it, and moved on with it. And as after what happened to them, they rose themselves up like the phoenix from the ashes, if you will. That's Japanese style. They do just get on with it. That's what I like about the Japanese. Their mentality, they just get on with it. But it's interesting how this book drops in ideas that I really, really wish had been expanded on, because it would have been a nice bit of interesting to read about this. Like this bit here, okay, about Hasagawa's wife. And her work with prostitutes. For centuries, a system of licensed prostitution has existed in Japan. Girls could be openly sold for a fixed period. Then in 1872, an imperial ordinance abolished this practice and ordered the release of all licensed prostitutes. Unfortunately, this did not lead to reform, for the people who were making money from the nefarious trade knew how to dodge the law. Sometimes because of poverty, parents would part with a daughter, and sometimes because of a vicious avarice, girls were loaned for a sum of money to the brothel houses, like goods in a pawnbroker's hands. The girls would have to agree to be licensed prostitutes in the homes of the keeper until the loan was repaid. Police regulation prevented any girl from leaving the licensed house without the signature of the brothel keeper. If she tried to escape, she would invariably be caught by the police, punished, and sent back to the brothel. Okay, that sentence there, that could have been a book. That could have been expanded upon. That could have been described in more detail. Dropping hints, obviously, okay, about Japan as this mystical, beautiful culture where, and yet you drop in something like that. That sentence alone could have been a book by itself. That could have been expanded upon. Now, Hasagawa's wife worked within the prostitutes, basically helping them find their feet after their ordeals. And kudos to the lady, because that must not have been an easy time for her. So, but it comes back all the time to the Salvation Army, which I got, and it mentions that in the Salvation Army, if you wish to marry, that person will have to convert. The Salvation Army can't marry someone who is not in the Salvation Army. I'm not sure this rule still exists today, but that seems a little bit, maybe because it's been 40 years since this book came out almost. Times have moved on, times have changed, and does that rule still exist now? Does that kind of, you can't marry unless the individual you wish to marry converts to the Salvation Army. That puts a lot of pressure on the couple. And the fact is, due to his work in the Salvation Army, Hasegawa, who was not getting any younger, married a woman who was also not getting any younger. But because of the Salvation Army duties, they had to wait 3 years. And in that time, as was a custom back then, they couldn't even write to each other. So you promise to marry someone, but you can't write to them? Yeah, I know, it is. It is. This book it's a short book. It's 118 pages about a guy who, I guess, in the Salvation Army world was very, very important. But the thing is, this is basically a novella. This is a world which could have been expanded upon. To know about, this whole idea of this young man at a time where people didn't convert, joined the Salvation Army, changing his religion, raising a family. Especially in the culture of Japan, how it affected him, how it affected the world around him. The war years in general, the war years is touched upon, but it's not really expanded upon, and that is the problem. It's basically a novella version of a guy's life, and I think Hasagawa himself deserved a bit better than that. I didn't know about Mr. Hasagawa, or Hasagawa-san, but if you're going to write a book about someone, explore his character a bit more. But respect for being such a loving father, and respectful and patient and kind at a time where that didn't normally happen in Japanese culture. So he's a very forward-thinking man, Mr. Hasagawa. So, little novella, picked that up many, many years ago. Son of YouTubers.